He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
I'll keep my freedom, I'll keep my guns, try to keep my money and my religion too.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
I'm gonna keep my big V8, keep my friends the same, keep the government out of my business, and y'all can keep the change.
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
We know what we need, we know who to blame.
Catch the Free American Hour, weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
I'll keep the USA and y'all can keep the change.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I am your host. I am Clay Douglas. And my guest today will be AlisonMcDermitt. I'm going to give her just a couple of minutes here to get in touch with some friends of hers because she wanted them to come up online with us. And let me tell you, I've been doing the right thing for 40 years. 40 years ago, I wrote novels about marijuana being legal. I wrote it from inside a Texas prison when marijuana was a life sentence. And I've been fighting for the legalization ever since, because I believe if a man can walk up to you and arrest you, a man with a badge come up and arrest you for something you got in your pocket, something you're doing in your home, something you're doing in the privacy of your own home, then you're in a police state. And folks, that police state is moving along. It's inching forward every day. It's happening gradually. It's happening gradually. Now let me see if I can get my guest up. And we do have some answers for it. The one answer that I've been talking about, and it'll be on my show tomorrow, is the Texas tiny houses. Now, this is not, this plan for Liberty Villages is available and you can do it there. But it's not inexpensive. If we do the same thing in Oklahoma, it will be with inexpensive structures like teepees. It started at about $5,000. The Texas tiny houses start at $40,000 and go up to $100,000. They're smaller houses, but it's the quality and the building. Each piece is almost a piece of art. He does ship those all over the country, and he does want them there and on the 40 acres in Texas. You can see the houses, you can see the quality of the work, and you can understand that if we establish this type of village, this configuration of village with these type of houses built from salvage, we have started a whole new industry in America, and that's what we want. That's what we're going to try to accomplish. All right. And all you got to do is put it in an application. Don't cost you nothing. Put it in an application. Tell us what you can do. Tell us what you can contribute, and tell us where you want to live.
Hello.
Hello, Alison. How are you?
Hello, Clay. I'm fine, thank you, dear.
I hope you got a hold of your friends, and I'll keep an eye out for them.
I did. Just in a hair's breadth, I did.
All right. All right, Alison. I've got your website pulled up, and the website is fireburndoctor.com. And before I get into that, you're from England. And
I am.
You've been here for about 3 years. I'm assuming you didn't come across with all the Mexicans down there on the border.
No, I came across twofold. I came across with my nursing, and I came across to help out with the press over here, the American media, to help get the word out about Father and Doctor. So they sort of coalesced nicely, and I came over about 3 years ago. And I love it here. Yeah.
All right, now, who are these doctors that you mentioned? Tell us about them. Tell us, and you can kind of explain what attracted to you and why you're working with them. What we're talking about here is, according to the website, fireburndoctor.com, you're offering free instant burn recovery?
Correct. It's what we are is we're a body of healthcare professionals who've seen this technology over the years and really feel that the public have got to know about it. And the head of our team is Dr. Joseph Watson, who's here in California, and it's the founder of this is not a medical doctor. It's not a medical intervention, so it's somewhat it's very unusual. But we've been a grassroots organization for 2 years, using social media and radio shows, things like Twitter and Facebook, to get the word out direct to the public, because it's been available for over 6-7 years. It's very controversial because it's been much maligned. But however, we went to public tests to let the public see directly proof. Proof is in the pudding, and when they call that number, which is Fire Burn Doctor number, the 818-332-6445 number, they connect with a free humanitarian service that fixes burns. It provokes the body to fix itself, and it's an extremely useful technology in our times, and this is the best way we can show the public, because everybody knows how burns behave. We all know they hurt like crazy, and they take days, weeks, months, even your whole life if it's a serious burn, to heal, and with terrible scar tissue. Well, this process provokes in minutes, so long as people make contact with us in the first 30 minutes of the burn. This is an influence technology. This technology is deployed in minutes. The pain, what we've had in all of our near 700 results so far, is that the pain is disappearing in minutes, and the burns, tissue damage, the blisters, the red marks, are receding to nothing in hours if it's a first, second degree burn, and in severe cases it's taking just days. The most remarkable thing is that the pain's gone within half an hour or so. We call back and check how they're doing, and that's the consistent result. So we want everyone to know about this. It's free, it'll never be charged for, and it's the public right to know. It's been kind of blocked from public attention for too long, and it's their right to know this is here.
Now we're talking about something that's a little bit more potent and powerful than aloe vera. I mean, that's what I always use on sunburns in Florida, but what are we talking about here? What is this process? Why and why is it controversial? Now, you say you're from you belong to a group of medical professionals, and I have to be real straight with you. I'm not very pro hospital, pro pharmaceutical, or pro
Neither am I, dear. Neither am I. That was my former career. I left nursing quite a long time ago, disillusioned with what was taking place in allopathic medicine. I did not want to be part of it any longer, and I was in pursuit of more natural modalities. And then about 8 years ago, I collided with the founder of this technology, saw it on a friend of mine, experienced it myself, and it blew my socks away. And I'm a practical nursey kind of mentality, and to see results in minutes that rationally we don't necessarily have an explanation for, was very, very, very shocking. And we're all, some of us have come well out of mainstream healthcare. The head of our team is a doctor, so any data supplied to us is protected under the HIPAA laws. That's one useful thing of the medical, is that it assures the public that their personal data is treated with confidentiality. But this is extraordinary. There's no products, there's no aloe vera, there's no thing, there's nothing to purchase. All people do is, in the first few minutes of a burn, they call our number, which is 818-332-6445, 6001 if you're calling from outside the country, and you leave some basic data, which is your name at birth, your place of birth, your date of birth, or you can just send a photograph of the face of the person who needs help. Now, the territory of this, why this is controversial, is because this was not taught in our schools, and this is an influence technology that is utilizing the quantum field as spoken of by Carl Jung and Einstein. They identified the quantum field of a life continuum. We have the founder of this who's operational in that quantum field. So within minutes he's able to locate any person, and it's a signature, if you like, their name or their picture, and identify them and know the person who needs the help. And it's an influence technology in that subliminally the person's their blueprint or their template, their God-given template, if you like, is provoked into a huge homeostatic surge. Homeostasis is the natural harmony of balance when the body is really healthy and fixing itself and in good state. It's that deeply entrenched photo place in the person that is triggered, and then it goes into this amazing fix the burn thing. Now the things with burns is the pain and the fear when we burn ourselves, even with little burns, they hurt like crazy. They can send us into panic and pain. Pain is ridiculously, disproportionately excruciating, even on the tiny ones, and those brain signals set our body responses off on the wrong track. It sends the body into chaos. There's the wrong hormones are sent out, neurotoxins sent out, edema happens, trauma and fibrillation in the major organs is commonplace. That halts, that stops, that is sort of circumvented, and the body is then allowed to take over and do its normal processes.
Now, how do you do this by phone? I mean, can you stimulate this from a distance? Can you stimulate the response in a person, you know, across the country in their cerebral cortex or whatever? Can you stimulate this response by telephone?
Yes. In a nutshell, yes. This is done from a distance. That continuum, that operational field that I was talking a little of just now, connects all living things. We are all in that life continuum. It is a real field. It's, you know, quantum mechanics if you're a scientific person, and if you're a spiritual person, it's the field that unites us all. It's the same place. And yes, from a distance, and it also doesn't rely on placebo. We've taken care of babies, hard-nosed cynics, people who didn't even know a relative had called through their data. They were on the way to the hospital in an ambulance and had left in agony. There was one particular guy who was a mechanic who a metal waste paper basket in his house, his bedroom, caught light and started sending light to his bedroom. And he had to pick this thing up with his bare hands and hurry out the door. Multiple seconds he had white hot metal searing his hands. He phones his parents and says, I've got a terrible burn, I'm on the way to the emergency room, they're coming for me in an ambulance, this is really bad, I won't be able to work for months. He was in a terrible state. Anyway, well, with the parents, one of them was being looked after by a nurse, and she knew about Fireburn Doctor. And so, long story short, the Fireburn Doctor were called with the mechanic's details, and by the time he reached his journey end at the emergency room, the other end, he had no pain. And the emergency people simply gave him a dry dressing and sent him home. And he otherwise would have had second, third degree blisters, infections, that chaos causes a ridiculous overreaction in the body. And that was halted, and we were taking care of babies. So it proves there's no placebo. You can think that, well, she's talking complete hogwash, but for goodness sake, do it anyway. On the way to the hospital, pick up the phone and call us in the first 30 minutes.
The phrase floats across my mind here, physician, heal thyself.
Well, that's exactly it, in a sense. We are wired we have a template or a blueprint within us, and as do all living things, that is perfect, and it's the fix-it mechanism that takes care of when we cut ourselves or any of the illnesses that we get. It's the same immunological response that flies to the problem and does everything it can. Well, this for burns, it's unleashed fully, so the pain is stopping within minutes, the blisters, red marks, which are largely overreaction to the contact with the fire, they just go down. People are watching them right before their eyes, flabbergasted, by the way, hugely fun. They're watching this just going down right under their eyes, and if people go to the website fireburndoctor.com, they'll see numerous reports of people's results, all consistently saying the same thing. And on the news page, we had a very severe burn that happened now 18 months ago, with a little 6-year-old child in Ghana, who herself and her brothers and sisters were caught in a terrible house fire, and she was pulled out. We didn't hear about her for 4 hours, which was way outside of what we can guarantee will happen. We have no idea, once the body's already done that chaotic overreaction, we don't know what our technology's impact is going to be. But nonetheless, her pain stopped after 4 hours, and she completely reepithelialized her skin, and that's regrew her skin, no scar tissue. And this is a 3rd, 4th degree burn. There's photographs of her burn while she was in hospital, and even that would not have arisen like that, needing to be scraped, and the damage that happens in 4 hours is extreme. But it still regrew skin, and even regrew the pigment in her skin. A little African girl.
40 years ago, I wrote some books that I am just now updating, been researching for 40 years. But in one of these scenes in those books, a man is injured, he's beaten up, and he goes and lays down on the bed, and by morning, he has healed himself. That was science fiction 40 years ago. You don't make it sound like science fiction.
This is the most amazing thing. There's 2 amazing things kicking off here. All of it is amazing, but we have an extraordinary self-fix-it template, and it's just like you've just described, and that is capable of way more than we realize. And this is a little taster, a little hint for the public to test, so they can see that what we've got is true. And this provocation of that template has many, many other applications in all kinds of human crises and illness and disease. And you know, we've hammered on all the doors, Clay. We've been to all the institutes, all the universities, we've been to all the governments, the Congress, politicians here in Europe and here and in Europe, and we've shown them proof, and they've all been wowed and did nothing. They did nothing, and that includes the firefighters, the emergency crews, you name them, the Shriner hospitals. Last 6 years, we made sure everybody knows. They still did nothing, so we thought, well, we're going straight to people. The people got to know about this. It'll never be chargeable play. It's a right to know. You have a right to know this.
There are people out there. There are people out there right now that are doing cancer research, and they've come to the conclusion that cancer is really curable, preventable. There are whole segments of people that don't get cancer, and we've also learned that hemp, THC, in your cannabinoids, they cure cancer and prevent cancer. If you smoke pot and you smoke cigarettes, you don't get lung cancer.
And it's also natural. You see, plants and herbs and things like that, they're a great assistant to our bodies, and a great assistant to us, helping us get back on track. This doesn't involve any herbs, any plants, anything. No product as such.
Hold on just a moment. Do you have somebody from the 419 area code?
Yes, I believe I do. Yes, there's 2 or 3 people who said they would call the show today.
All right. Hello, 419 area code. We have you. I have you up on the air with AlisonMcDermitt. Are you there?
I'm here.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Drake Trail.
Oh, Drake. Have you you know Alison? You guys have met?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, he's a frequent flyer with Fireburn Doctor. This is our champion bodybuilder from Ohio, and Greg has got some great stories. He first heard about us a couple of years ago at Thanksgiving. If you could tell that story, Greg. Hi, how are you doing?
Well, very well. I'm glad I could take the phone call. Well, to my recollection, it was 2009, Thanksgiving Day, and I had heard Alison McDermitt on Coast to Coast AM with Ian Punnett, and she had repeated the fire burn doctor several times, and I just said, well, what do I have to lose? I'll punch it into my telephone, never thinking I need to use it. And lo and behold, on Thanksgiving Day, my family was gathered in my mother's kitchen, and we were going kind of like a buffet style. You had to get your own food, and you know how you put mashed potatoes on your plate and you make a little boat in it? Well, we were all using paper sticks that day, and the gravy was still on the fire and boiling, and I had taken a little bit too much of a ladle full of it and put it into my gravy bowl or my potatoes, and it ran all over my hand. And if you can imagine boiling gravy with turkey fat in it, that's what I experienced, and I could barely hang on to the plate to even set it down. And it burnt me so bad that it really made me nauseous. I didn't even think I was going to be able to eat. And then I remembered I had the fire burn doctor. And so I started dialing this number, and my family's around hearing me give my full name at the given date of birth and my place of birth and what happened. They're saying, what in the world are you talking to? And I just kept on until I got all the information out. And then I explained, I said, I just dialed the fire burn doctor. And I said, I can't explain it, but it's supposed to work, you know. And
all right, hold on just a moment for me, sir. Just hold on just a moment here. I got to do this. We dropped one of our lines here, and I got to get it back up again. So please hold on with me for just a second.
Sure.
We'll get that back up here.
Technology.
Hopefully that's going to work here. Okay, evidently, maybe I'm on here. I don't know. Looks like it. All right, sir, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I left off at the point where I had already called the fire burn doctor, and shortly after that, I received a phone call from a nice individual that was identified himself and says, hello, this is the fire burn doctor. And he says, and what is your pain level? And I immediately said, how did you do that? Because the pain had dropped from a level that was off the chart, like a 10 plus, to it was already down to a 1 or a 2, and that short of time. And I just couldn't believe it. So that's why I just said, how did you do that? And then he explained, he said, could you please call back in, I don't remember, in an hour from now or something, and give me your pain level. And but needless to say, I ended up with absolutely no burn on my hand, and the pain level diminished to 0 later on through the day. Immediately after the burn, even though the pain had dropped, my hand still felt a little tingly. And then he said, would you give a call back later on that day? And I did, and that's when the pain had totally left me. So it worked amazingly for me. And
would you have expected blisters with that, Greg? Would you have expected to get? What would you have expected with your hand with that molten gravy? That's like 400 degrees plus gravy. So what were you expecting?
I was expecting
usual thing.
Second-degree burns with blisters for sure, because boiling hot water, even let alone with the grease that was in it, made it worse. So I would have definitely expected to be with a burn for several days, a painful one.
Well, what did your family think, Greg?
Well, they were amazed. In fact, my nephew and his wife, they wrote the number down and later used it when one of their young children had touched a hot pot or the hot stove and had burned their hand. And I remember them saying that, I can't remember which one it was, but he was crying and they kept holding his hand underneath the water. And then I believe, I don't know if it was my nephew or my niece that called, and they called the fire burn doctor, and the little boy said, well, Mommy, it doesn't hurt anymore, you know. And so I know it worked for them, and out of children, they always tell the truth, you know, especially small ones with a burn, and it's very painful for them.
Indeed, I think everybody knows how terribly painful they are.
Again, I'm trying to picture how this works, and now I just was watching, and I'll talk about it later, the process of hypnosis, and watching a hypnotist, like in an audience, being able to hypnotize people instantly, and they could put their hand into ice water and basically without feeling it.
This is not hypnosis. Just to clarify,
okay.
It's not hypnosis. We don't require actual contact with the person. It's an influence technology that is operational in the field that connects us all, and we have a biomatrix hacker. That's the term that people are now using to describe this ability, and it's nothing to do with what the person believes. It's their child. They're not being talked to, coaxed through. The only thing our clerk will do is ask them the level of the pain and say, just go about your day and do something else. Try and keep your mind off it. That's all. That's it. And then they call back. The only thing we ask for in this is that people please tell us what happened. Send us an email, leave us a voicemail, and tell us what happened. We're collecting the data, and we've got 700 results all saying the same thing. And Greg's story, he's got about 4 personal uses, I think, isn't it, Greg? Something like that. But when we first knew in the Thanksgiving incident, that was the first time he gave us his name, date of birth, place of birth, and details. When he called the second time, that was actually when it happened instantly, if you remember, Greg, because we already knew you. So the time of getting the data through and it being known to the person who's taking care of you was extremely quickly, more quickly than a fresh new person. But when he called, it was within a couple of minutes of that first burn, he's down to 0, 1, and that's what's happening. It's nothing to do with hypnosis. It's a much more fundamental level of operations.
Now, I want to discuss that with you here. We're coming up on our second half here. In just a couple of minutes here, and in that second half, I really want to discuss more about this universal mind. Now, I made kind of an offhand comment that many times on my shows here, that God didn't stop talking to us 2,000 years ago, and I think burning bushes are kind of passé in the 21st century. So it's my theory that God communicates with us and using the internet. I mean, this is the 21st century after all.
Indeed, and greater things than this shall you know, a very special person once said, and we were meant to know about this faculty and this unifying, life-provoking, life-restoring faculty. We were meant to know about that millennia ago, and it's been missing from our cultures for a long, long time, and we shouldn't be collapsing in disease and pain and fear as thick and strong as we are now. We're in a terrible state with those things, and this is a technology that bypasses that. That's the first thing that happens when you burn yourself. It's crazy pain, and there's a primordial fear related to fire and our relationship to fire. There's that there as well. And this is a sort of subliminal thing that blocks the body from doing the right thing. And our technology reestablishes the body doing the right thing and does it in seconds, in truth. And now it's for the public to see. They don't have to believe a thing on today's show.